Would it feel to marry your classmate when you both hate each other like cats and dogs? Saito is a rich, smart, and handsome young man who really dislikes girls who talk too much. Especially Akane. Akane, the female protagonist, is usually very quiet, but for some reason, she picks fights with Saito every day. His presence is like a pest to her, and she just wants to hit him with a slipper. Akane is always irritated by every action Saito takes. Even something as simple as writing in a notebook that no one even reads. Himari, Akane's best friend, feels sorry for Saito because he's always fighting with Akane. Whenever they argue, only Saito's cousin, Sati, is the one to comfort him. Sati is extremely cute, making everyone admire her. Seeing Akane fight with Saito all the time, Himari guesses that Akane might secretly like him. Akane insists that even if he were the last guy on Earth, she wouldn't care. After school, Saito is invited by his wealthy grandfather to hang out, but he turns it down because he has to register for his anime tribe channel. His grandfather plans to pass on the family business to him, so he advises Saito to try and win his favor. However, Saito has heard this advice from his grandfather many times. Despite this, he is forcibly dragged into a car by the bodyguards to meet his grandfather. Hojo Tenryu, who had saved the Hojo Corporation during difficult times and made it powerful. Saito is curious about where his grandfather is taking him, but the bodyguards stay silent, increasing the suspense. When they arrive at the meeting point, Saito runs into Akane, the one he dislikes most at school. She is also invited to dinner by her grandmother and, upon seeing Saito, loses all interest. Every time they're near each other, they argue non-stop. At that moment, Saito's grandfather and Akane's grandmother arrive. Surprising both of them, they don't understand why their grandparents are together. Afterward, both pairs of grandparents and the two grandchildren go inside to have sushi. Akane can't eat because just seeing Saito makes her lose her appetite. So they start arguing again. Saito's grandfather thinks they're a perfect match, though he doesn't understand why. The grandparents then decide to set up a marriage between Saito and Akane. Both of them are shocked, and the grandparents remind them to get married soon. The story shifts to when Tenryu and Chiyo, their grandparents, were young. They had feelings for each other but couldn't be together because of family arrangements. Tenryu married as per the family's wishes and made his wife happy until she passed away 10 years ago. Chiyo's husband also passed away a while ago, which is why they are now seeing each other. Both grandparents regret not being together in their youth and hope that their grandchildren can fulfill their wish and marry. Akane is the first to refuse, believing you should only marry someone you love, and that involves a romantic proposal. Saito also doesn't like the idea, but after hearing Tenryu's threat of passing on the company to a stray dog if they don't marry, Saito starts to worry. Chiyo says something to Akane that shocks her. The grandparents give them 3 days to make a decision. After dinner, Akane still can't believe she will marry the guy she hates most. While Saito wonders what Chiyo said to Akane, he plans to deal with it, but Akane won't tell him. At school, they are always competing for the top spot in exams, but Akane has never been able to beat Saito, which frustrates her. Later that night, Akane confides in Himari, asking what she should do if forced to marry someone she dislikes. Of course, Himari refuses because she already has a crush on someone. Akane is surprised, and asks Himari about her crush, but she doesn't want to say. Akane admits she's interested in someone in class, but she wishes for a comet to hit him instead. For Akane, marriage isn't such a bad thing since she can share the household costs. But she's more concerned about the physical side of the marriage. Himari suggests they go all the way to have children, which embarrasses Akane. On Saito's side, he's also distressed about marrying a devil, especially when they can't even get along at school, and now they have to live together. His cousin Sati, noticing his frustration, asks what's wrong. Saito tells her about the forced marriage and the threat of his grandfather passing the company to a dog. Sati advises Saito that even if he doesn't inherit the company, she will still support him no matter what. 3 days later, Saito and Akane have to make their decision. They both say at the same time that they will marry. Their grandparents are thrilled, even though they hate each other. They realize there's no other choice if they want to achieve their goals. Saito plans to register and organize the wedding after graduation. But Tenryu insists they marry immediately. The grandparents have already prepared a house for them to live in. And they drive off, leaving Akane shocked. Once they enter the house, the first thing Saito does is lock the door, making Akane think he has bad intentions. Afterward, she becomes even more upset when she sees that the house only has one bedroom with a small bed. Saito calls his grandfather, but Tenryu explains that married couples must sleep together, which shocks Akane. As Saito checks the house for hidden cameras, he finds something unexpected, making Akane think he's planning something bad. Saito tries to explain, but she doesn't listen and even pulls out a pencil to defend herself. As Akane moves her things into the room, she accidentally falls down the stairs. Fortunately, Saito is there to help her, but he's still concerned about her dying, which makes him uneasy. Tenryu prepares a pizza for Saito, but when Akane sees it, she snatches it and runs to her room. After a day of arguing with Akane, Saito is exhausted. This is their first time living with someone of the opposite sex, and it feels cramped. Akane warns Saito not to touch her because she's never been close to anyone. But Saito wants to know why she's marrying him. She doesn't respond, having agreed to endure it for her dream. Saito worries that Tenryu might add a condition to have children, which startles Akane. The next morning, Akane demands that Saito keep their marriage a secret. Fearing social ruin if anyone finds out, Saito promises to keep it a secret. But then Akane decides to attach a recorder to him, making him frustrated. No one could have predicted that the girl Saito hated most in school would become his wife just a few days later. The couple closed the door to talk, but Akane's best friend, Himari, saw them. She was curious why they weren't fighting today and were whispering like a married couple. Akane almost spilled it, asking why they were whispering. But she lied, saying she wouldn't allow Saito to talk to her. While Saito sat down to warm up, his cousin noticed the smell of Akane's shampoo was different today. Not only did she notice the unusual shampoo scent, but she also smelled a woman's scent. She rushed over and slapped Saito, surprising him. Seeing his strange behavior, Saito investigated and found out that he had married Akane. He even knew where both of them lived and about their engagement. Saito quickly covered her mouth, saying he had no obligation to hide their marriage. Akane was upset because Saito got married without consulting her, so if he wanted to keep it a secret, he better start bribing her. For now, she didn't demand anything from Saito, but if he made a wrong move, she would make him pay. Next was gym class. Saito planned to sleep after class, so Akane scolded him, saying he needed to clean the equipment after class. But Saito complained that the next class could clean it, though Himari and Akane already helped him. Akane scolded him further, wondering what would happen if a meteorite fell and the students tripped on the equipment. Saito just shrugged, thinking it was ridiculous. But when the two were arguing like cats and dogs, their classmates started teasing them, calling them a couple of comedians. Himari had to explain that they weren't actually married, though it was starting to seem like it. When Akane got home after school, she was shocked to see the fridge full of fruit juice that Saito had bought yesterday. The drink was full of vitamins, and he also bought a box of instant noodles. Cheap and time-saving. For protein, Saito bought synthetic protein powder and mixed it with the fruit juice to make a nutritious drink. Akane never expected that smart people could come up with such ideas. After preparing it, Saito offered his wife a taste, but Akane refused, calling it disgusting. This hurt Saito's pride because he had spent a lot of time getting used to the taste of this chemical drink. If he continued drinking like this, he'd be in trouble. So Akane decided to show Saito what real cooking was like. She went to the kitchen and made a delicious omelette. Saito, who was hungry, thought this meal would make him emotional, but he couldn't shake the suspicion that Akane might have poisoned the food. Akane waited for a compliment, but when Saito said it was just normal, she thought he didn't like her cooking and got upset, refusing to feed him anymore. However, Saito still finished the meal she made, though he didn't eat the person who made it. The next morning, Akane woke Saito up for school. but he mistook it for a visit from his cousin and hugged her. As a result, he got slapped by Akane. Moreover, she scolded him for not washing the dishes after eating. Saito often left the dishes in a pile, letting them stack up until they were as high as a mountain. Akane was furious, but she was even more shocked when she found out that Saito only threw out the trash once a month and advised her not to mind the mess. Saito told her to stop worrying about it, which left Akane speechless. That night, Saito played a game loudly, which bothered Akane, making it hard for her to concentrate on studying. She was even more surprised when she saw him playing a terrifying horror game. Despite reducing the volume to 40%, she couldn't tolerate it, so the two started arguing again. The result was that the wires got unplugged, and Saito was shocked, unable to finish his game. Every day living with Akane felt like a battle, so Saito decided to soak in the hot tub to recover for tomorrow's fight. But when he opened the bathroom door, he saw Akane in the tub and quietly left. He thought she had fainted, so he went back to check, but overheard her talking badly about him in her sleep, which made him furious. Seeing that Akane wasn't responding, Saito tried to lift her, but she was too heavy, causing him to fall flat on his face. His fall woke Akane up, and she saw them both laughing and hugging, calling him a pervert. Saito tried to explain but knew Akane wouldn't believe him. She just thought he was acting weird. Akane was so angry she almost cried, even demanding to kick Saito out of the house. After bathing, Akane thought for a moment and realized she had fallen asleep in the tub because she was so exhausted from fighting with Saito. Maybe Saito just wanted to help her. That night, Akane decided to apologize, but being shy, she couldn't bring herself to do it. Meanwhile, Saito turned off the light, giving her no chance to explain. The next morning, Akane went to school looking exhausted and asked Himari how to get along with someone she hated. Himari instantly guessed it was about Saito, but Akane denied it. If they kept arguing like this, Akane would go crazy. Himari suggested that Akane try giving Saito a hug, but Akane thought that was impossible. She believed that some people, like certain animals, just couldn't get along. However, Himari remained optimistic, thinking that Akane and Saito could make it work. Akane couldn't imagine it, but Himari believed Saito and Akane just needed to compromise. That evening, Saito wanted them to talk, but Akane didn't seem interested. However, to prevent a divorce, both decided to set some ground rules to avoid more arguments. First, about the house chores. Since their marriage, Akane had done everything. Saito wanted to help, but he preferred to pile everything up and clean it all at once, which led to disagreements. Remembering Himari's advice, Saito decided to wash the dishes every day, which surprised Akane. When it came to physical contact, Saito wanted Akane to accept that their bodies might touch on the bed. She called him a pervert, but Saito explained that it was inevitable with their small bed, so she reluctantly agreed. However, she made him promise not to touch her while she was dressed. They also made more rules, including showing gratitude to each other, which Akane remembered when Saito criticized her cooking. Saito had explained that it was normal food, which was actually a compliment. He spent a whole week explaining it, hoping Akane would understand. That night, Akane told Himari that they had talked, though they hadn't fully worked things out. When Saito walked in, Akane was trying to act charming, but he remained cool and composed. The next morning, Saito brought Akane her favorite cake as a thank you, which surprised her. Saito had a great memory and remembered she had written about it in her first-year journal. Even though it was just a small note, Akane was happy and thanked him, causing Saito to blush. Later, Akane made a big dinner for Saito and was pleased when he praised her cooking. When Saito was washing the dishes, Akane offered to help, which made him confused. As usually, she would have yelled at him, but this time, she was considerate, making Saito notice how cute and kind she could be. He had never really paid attention to her usual frown, but when she smiled, she looked so cute and kind. Saito was sitting in the living room reading when Akane suddenly invited him to watch a movie together. The movie was called 24 and Saito's face turned pale in fear. But Akane assured him it was 1,440 minutes. Not 24 hours. Saito was speechless, wondering if 1,440 minutes wasn't equivalent to 24 hours. The tape even had a 3-hour-long cut. So Saito quickly agreed. Akane was thrilled because the movie had a lot of cute scenes. While Saito ended up falling asleep without realizing it, Akane insisted that he watch a movie with her. But next time, she promised he could pick the movie. Saito preferred playing video games, but Akane swore she would never touch one. However, 30 minutes later, both were playing and having a lot of fun. When it was time to sleep, these two enemies shared many intimate actions. Saito wanted Akane to pick a game next time, while Akane asked Saito to call her by her first name instead of using her last name, feeling that using her last name sounded sarcastic. So, from that moment on, they officially called each other by their first names at home. The next morning, Akane picked up an eraser that had fallen on the floor for Saito, which left Himari feeling confused. Recently, she noticed that Akane was arguing with Saito less often and wasn't as quarrelsome as before. Also, Akane had started calling Saito by his first name, which made Himari unsure how to explain it and had to walk away. Saito was looking for books in the library when Akane, mischievously, pressed her wet hands against his eyes, claiming she was helping him wash his eyes. She proudly acted like she had done something significant for him. Akane was puzzled as to why Saito, who was so cool, was reading a book on communication from scratch, trying to speak with her more. Later, Saito approached Akane to start a conversation, making her squirm since they were at school. He invited her to go shopping together after school, which almost made Akane shout, "Date." So, Saito dragged her into a private room to keep their secret. However, Akane misunderstood and thought Saito wanted to do something inappropriate. He quickly explained that they were only going shopping, not going on a date, and the two of them came up with 100 excuses to avoid admitting that they were dating. After school, Akane was about to meet Saito when Himari invited her to go back home together. Today, the store was selling a type of cake Akane liked, and Himari wanted to go get it with her. Even though Akane really wanted to eat the cake, she had to refuse because she had plans to meet someone. Himari insisted on meeting this person, but Akane said she already knew who it was and didn't need to explain. In her mind, that person was undoubtedly Saito. Was the two of them dating? This thought made Akane explain herself repeatedly, and Himari, being naive, believed her. After avoiding Himari's questions, Akane stepped on a coconut shell and stumbled. Akane was in a hurry and didn't have time to play with Saito. But before she left, she wanted to know what activities Saito and Akane were doing together. Every time Saito's name was mentioned, Akane got embarrassed and quickly ran off, repeating to herself that they were only shopping together, not dating. Then, they went to the convenience store near their house to buy groceries. First, they picked up eggs and green onions because they were running out. Saito grabbed one box of eggs, but Akane wanted to get the cheaper one next to it, saving 20 yen, which was more suitable for their family's budget, even though Saito was rich. Then they headed to the discounted meat section, where Akane charged ahead and was kicked out by the elderly ladies. Seeing this, Saito joined in and received the same treatment. Akane was disappointed at herself for being so useless, while Saito had no idea why he was there. Despite all that, they still had fun together, and Akane hoped they could try harder next time. Saito, though, was unsure if he could turn her down after seeing her face. After the shopping trip, Saito felt that Akane would eventually become a good wife, which made Akane embarrassed since they were already married. That night, Akane woke up to find Saito trying to make a move on her. He explained that he just wanted to pinch her cheek because her face looked too cute while she was asleep. Akane was shocked, like a fish caught on a hook, but she allowed him to touch her cheek, just a little bit. Then, she went back to sleep as if nothing had happened, leaving Saito with a strange feeling. The next morning, they both acted like nothing had occurred. After spending a night together, they felt like they were walking on air. Akane made some bread for breakfast, and Saito forgot to put on his shirt before going out, so he bought a huge strawberry cream bread to share with Akane. Himari saw them and quickly assumed they were dating. Akane explained that Saito was just following her around and that they weren't actually going out together. As for the bread, Akane accidentally dropped half of it, and Saito picked it up and ate it, which made her feel a little angry. Later, Akane had to stay up late studying for a test, and Saito, concerned, told her to go to bed. But Akane thought he was mocking her poor grades and kicked him out. Afterward, Saito made her a strawberry sandwich, which made Akane so surprised that she promised herself she'd only eat one bite. But it tasted so good that she ended up studying all night. From then on, every time Akane stayed up late studying, Saito would prepare food for her. Recently, Akane had been pushing herself too hard and ended up falling asleep in the hallway. Luckily, Himari appeared just in time. Himari knew Akane had been overworking, so she advised her to take it easy. But Akane was determined to never give up until she defeated Saito. Even if it took 100 years, she was determined to make Saito quit. Even though they only had 1 year left before graduation. As usual, Saito made food for Akane. But this time, he noticed she had fallen asleep at the desk. She felt hot to the touch. So he decided to put her to bed. Saito carefully took care of Akane. But she insisted she needed to study because her dream was worth the effort and her health. Akane wanted to help those who were suffering from illness, which is why she was determined to become a doctor. However, her family couldn't afford her tuition fees, and her grandmother had told her that Saito's family would cover all the costs if she married him. While Saito only had to breathe to be number 1 in every exam, Akane had to constantly push herself but still couldn't beat him, leaving her disappointed in herself. This was also why Akane admired Saito, though she would deny it. After taking Akane's temperature, Saito realized she had a high fever, so he decided to call an ambulance. But Akane stubbornly refused, saying that the ambulance should be reserved for people in more critical condition. She couldn't forgive herself if someone died because they had to wait for the ambulance. In the end, Saito changed his mind and called a taxi to take her to the hospital. Unfortunately, no taxis were available at that hour, so Akane urged him to sleep since they still had to go to school the next day. But with his wife so sick, Saito couldn't ignore it. He decided to carry her to the hospital in the middle of the night, which surprised Akane. Now he understood her dream and how far she would go for it. Saito was forced into this marriage with someone he hated, something he never wanted, but he believed that one day, this marriage would have a happy ending. It turned out Akane only had a cold and recovered after a week. Life for the newlyweds returned to normal. Saito played back a recording of Akane saying she admired him when she had a high fever. And he teased her about it. In today's test, Saito scored 100 as usual, and Himari took the opportunity to talk to him. She teased Saito with some flirtatious gestures, making him feel embarrassed. After Himari left, Akane gave Saito a stern reminder that he was already married and shouldn't get close to other girls. For some reason, Saito now found his wife incredibly cute, which made him want to go crazy. Akane kept following Saito around like a ghost, making him think today was his last day on Earth. But it turned out she just wanted to give him the bento he forgot at home. Saito acted as though a war was about to break out. Akane had put a lot of effort into making it, hoping that Saito would eat it all, even though she had already eaten 3 bowls of rice this morning. She was still hungry and wanted to eat the food Saito's wife had prepared. Saito immediately had to shut her down, so Akane used her ultimate cute move to ask Saito, which made the whole class call him stingy. At that moment, Himari noticed that Akane and Saito's bentos looked exactly the same. Could it be that they were dating? Both of them quickly explained to the class that it was just a coincidence and that they weren't dating, even though they were married. While Saito was arguing with some classmates, Akane finished Saito's bento, and without any shame, she claimed that Saito should thank her for saving him from a disaster. Saito knew she was hungry, so she ate, but thanks to Akane, no one in the class would gossip about the two of them anymore. Inside, Saito was still concerned about their marriage. As Saito was walking down the hallway, Himari suddenly jumped in and started chatting with him, teasing him about his relationship with Akane. Saito, being already married, stayed calm and looked handsome. When Himari asked about the bento earlier, Saito explained that it was just his frozen bento from home, and maybe Akane copied his style. He assured her that they weren't dating. Hearing this made Himari strangely happy, and the conversation was overheard by C. That night, Akane was sleeping when she heard a strange noise and screamed, making Saito think their house was under attack by zombies. When Saito realized his wife was afraid of ghosts, he coldly went back to sleep. leaving Akane to scream. If she didn't solve her ghost problem, she wouldn't let him sleep. So, she had to borrow his shoulder. By morning, Akane was still haunted by the ghost and had to crawl into Saito's office to feel safe. Saito didn't believe in ghosts, so he told her to take a picture of it. But Akane claimed that the ghost would curse her phone if she took a photo, which left Saito speechless. Akane used the excuse of protecting Saito from the ghost to study in his room but then kicked him out. When Saito went to the bathroom, Akane, with her usual quirky behavior, begged him not to close the door, saying dogs also go to the bathroom in front of others. That evening, Akane invited Saito to shower with her, but he was only allowed to stand outside and guard. When she didn't get a response from Saito, she rushed outside, saying he wasn't allowed to join. Akane, annoyed by being disturbed all day, was exhausted by the time they went to school. Saito immediately realized that his brother was troubled by something related to his wife, so she hoped Saito would talk to her. Saito then explained that Akane was scared of ghosts in the house, and C decided to play detective to investigate. For that, she needed to go to Saito's house. C came over and bluntly asked Akane if she had married Saito, which caused both of them to freak out and have to hide her to avoid being exposed. Akane was angry that Saito told C about their marriage, but then she realized that since they were family, it was only natural for C to know. C agreed with Akane that their house was haunted by a spirit, and if they didn't deal with it, Akane's grades would drop by 50, which terrified her. C, having examined the house, announced that it was cursed and that Akane's scores would go down if not resolved. She believed the house would soon descend into the afterlife. Akane panicked, and C's first stop was Saito's study. Even though he didn't often study there, C guessed that Saito must have hidden in that room to read. Akane scolded him, calling him disgusting, especially since every time Saito's cousin came to visit, he hurriedly packed up his books. But what C found in the room was a pair of Saito's underwear, which she sniffed and acted like it was something perverse, even though it just smelled like detergent. The next room C investigated was Akane's, where Akane didn't want others to see her underwear, so she assured C that her room was safe. Akane then explained that she had seen a shadow, which looked like a child, and when she screamed, it disappeared. After some logical reasoning, C concluded that the ghost Akane saw was actually her, which shocked both of them. A few days ago, C had asked Saito for the key to his house because she didn't want to disturb the couple's intimacy, so she secretly snuck in. Akane screamed that they hadn't done anything intimate, and Saito warned C to notify him next time before coming over. After solving the mystery, C wanted to thank Akane by having dinner with them. C complimented Akane's cooking, saying it was excellent, and Akane couldn't resist her cuteness, so she invited C to stay for dinner. As they ate, Saito gently wiped some rice from C's cheek, which looked very intimate and made Akane feel jealous. After dinner, Saito and C played video games together, which made Akane feel even more jealous. When Akane learned that Saito and C had showered together when they were kids, her jealousy flared up. Saito, noticing her frustration, decided to play along. That night, C decided to stay over, so Saito lent her his blanket and game console. Akane had a lot to say to Saito, but with C around, she couldn't. Akane knew that Saito had bought a cat game for her, and she wanted him to teach her how to play it earlier. She wanted to be the first to play it, but Saito was worried it might affect her studies. As usual, they started arguing about it, and every day, arguing with Saito seemed to lighten Akane's mood. Later, Akane wondered if Saito was taking care of C too much, but Saito explained that he had to be cautious around her, as she could easily pick up stones and throw them. Akane didn't understand why this bothered her so much. Then, they both felt something odd under the blanket and blamed each other for inappropriate behavior. C suddenly emerged from between them, and Akane couldn't sleep because she was used to being with Saito every time she visited. She didn't want to let go of him, but C thought Akane was jealous and wanted to sleep with Saito. She reluctantly explained that it was just a rule set by their grandparents when they married. But C thought Akane wanted to sleep separately from Saito, so she decided to sleep on the floor to not interfere with their intimacy. Saito soon realized Akane had been jealous all this time. And later, when he went to sleep, C talked to Akane about it, advising her to be honest with Saito. C reassured Akane that with a wife like her, Saito would be in good hands. However, as soon as Saito went to sleep, C snuggled up to him, leaving Akane frustrated. Akane used to be a difficult person to approach when she was younger, so she didn't have any friends. However, Himari really wanted to be friends with Akane. In response to Himari's enthusiasm, Akane didn't want to be friends with her because she needed time for studying. Still, Himari kept trying to make friends with Akane through sweets. And since Akane was a sweet tooth, she couldn't easily refuse. Today, Himari invited Akane out to a cafe to chat. There, Himari confessed to her that she had a crush on Saito, which surprised Akane like a fairy tale. Himari liked everything about Saito, especially how cool he looked. One time, when her friend passed out from heatstroke, Saito remained calm and handled the situation, making Himari fall for him completely. Akane thought it was just Saito showing off, but then realized that it was this very quality that saved her life. Besides Saito's confidence, Himari liked other things about him, like how he'd check on her whenever she felt down. Since Akane was very close to Saito, Himari hoped Akane could help her win Saito's heart. Upon hearing how much Himari liked Saito, Akane couldn't bring herself to refuse her friend. From then on, she would help Himari understand Saito more, even though she herself didn't understand her own husband very well. So, that whole day, Akane followed Saito around from home to the streets and even during meals. When Saito started eating, Akane started observing him so intensely that he couldn't bring himself to eat. When he asked why, Akane mischievously said she wouldn't tell him even if he were dying. After some back and forth, Akane directly asked Saito what type of girl he liked, only to find out that he didn't have any specific ideal type. As for food, Saito liked steak, particularly rare steak, but Akane mistakenly thought he liked it raw with raw garlic on the side. The next morning, Akane listed all of Saito's preferences, which shocked Himari, as she never imagined he liked raw food. Akane also mentioned that Saito liked to read books in bed before sleeping, which made Himari curious. She asked if Akane snuck into Saito's bed to know all this. But Akane, in a fluster, quickly dodged the question. Himari believed her and trusted her. Saito thought Akane was asking about his preferences to make steak for him. But instead, dinner that night was just fish. Akane didn't realize how much Saito liked steak, so she decided she would take responsibility and cook steak for him. Akane really loved the twilight hour because everything seemed blurry, making her want to go back home, which reminded her of the food her mother used to cook. Saito, however, didn't feel the same way and didn't tell her why because it would take too long to explain. That evening, when Saito tasted the steak, he could only swallow his saliva, and when he tried a bite, he praised Akane a lot, which made her suspicious because it sounded like a proposal. Despite their marriage, Saito finally complimented her cooking, so she decided to make him many more delicious meals. The next day, Himari directly asked Saito what kind of girl he liked. His answer was exactly the same as when Akane had asked him, in love. There is no ideal type because you can't truly like someone unless you understand them. Himari liked Saito because he thought in a way no one else did, which made her feel that none of the guys who had confessed to her in the past understood her. Just before class started, Himari asked Saito one last question. If someone knew Saito well, would they know that person liked him? Then she leaned in close to his ear and asked what he thought of her. Afterward, she became embarrassed and quickly ran off. Hiding under the desk, Saito had heard the entire conversation and, feeling embarrassed, decided to confront her about it. That evening, while Saito was playing a game, Akane snuck into his study to investigate. Before Saito could ask anything, Akane quickly explained that she wasn't being sneaky but just wanted to borrow some books to read. Saito, not suspecting anything, tossed her a book titled Understanding the History of Mankind Through Food and Weapons. Himari had already seen that book in the library, but she didn't understand it. Akane apologized for not being able to help Himari much, but thanks to it, She now had a reason to ask Saito to explain. Afterward, Hamari went to Saito to talk. And Saito was happy to help her because he felt indebted to her for stepping in to save him. Hamari hoped the two of them would reconcile, as Akane was a good person. When they were in elementary school, Akane had saved Hamari from bullies. Perhaps it was because of her unique blonde hair that Saito didn't feel the same way about it. Thinking many people who dyed their hair blonde looked bad. But it suited Hamari. This made Hamari remember how Akane had once complimented her golden hair. And she realized she owed Akane a lot. Watching Saito talk with Hamari, Akane felt an indescribable emotion. At that moment, Hamari unintentionally struck at the core of Akane's heart, causing her to explain that she had never seen that look on Hamari's face. So she eavesdropped on their conversation. Hamari, noticing that Akane was jealous, then teased her by saying that Saito and Hamari would make a good couple. But Akane insisted that Saito wasn't right for Hamari, even though she wouldn't oppose them if they ended up together. After school, Hamari thanked Akane and then jokingly invited her to a luxurious dessert party at home. Akane tried to refuse because she was living with Saito, but Hamari seemed upset, thinking Akane didn't want to invite her over. To remedy the situation, Akane asked Saito to temporarily leave the house so Hamari could visit. Saito, feeling partially responsible for not keeping Hamari quiet, reluctantly agreed. However, before they could discuss it further, Hamari, too eager, decided to arrive earlier than planned. When she arrived at the door, Akane urgently asked Saito to disappear from the house so Hamari wouldn't find out. The first thing Hamari asked when entering was whether Akane would mind if she invited Saito to go on a date. If Akane liked him, she would step back, but Akane, though she liked Saito, also cared a lot for Hamari. Akane tried to defend herself, but Saito overheard everything. The next day, Hamari asked Saito to go on a date with her, and while Saito didn't mind it, he didn't immediately give an answer. Later, Akane overheard their conversation again and was caught by Cici asked if Akane was truly okay with Saito dating Hamari. If Akane couldn't face her feelings, C would expose them. C's words made Akane realize what she truly felt. That night, Saito told Akane about Hamari's invitation, asking if she was really okay with it, since they were already married. But Akane, in her usual manner, thought they were forced into this marriage. Saito then assured her that it was his right to date anyone. The next morning, as Saito was about to leave the house, Akane unexpectedly started crying. She didn't want him to go and realized that just thinking about him being friendly with another girl made her heart ache. This made Saito realize that Akane didn't dislike him as much as he had thought. He smiled happily, knowing that he had already turned down Hamari's offer. Akane, upon learning the truth, felt both frustrated and relieved. To make up for it, Saito decided to take Akane to buy wedding rings. Even though Hamari had been turned down for a date, she remained friendly with Saito and promised to keep trying to win his heart. Akane, overhearing this, vowed not to lose to Hamari, though she never expected herself to say such a thing. After learning that Saito liked raw meat and raw garlic, Hamari made a bento full of these ingredients, making Saito drool. He couldn't understand how Hamari knew his favorite foods, but then he remembered the only person who could be the culprit. He intended to refuse the meal, but with Hamari's adorable appearance and the pressure from the classmates, it was hard for him to say no. So, Saito ate the food, devouring it like a dog chewing a bone. Once he started eating, he couldn't stop, which made Akane incredibly jealous. Hamari, knowing Akane's tendency to act possessive, tried to feed Akane too, almost turning Saito into a bug in a flower garden. While the group was having fun, C finished both bentos, leaving everyone surprised. Lately, Hamari had been struggling with math, so she asked Saito to tutor her. When Saito agreed, Hamari quickly invited him to her house since her parents were out. He thought Hamari was teasing him, but she promised she would only stop if she could make him fall for her. Seeing the two of them whispering made Akane feel a little jealous. And unable to hold it in, she jumped into their conversation, warning Hamari about the danger of being with Saito, thinking he would try something. But Hamari was too interested and actually liked the idea, so she brushed Akane's concerns aside. Akane kept trying to warn her friend not to get involved with Saito, offering her a list of reasons why it wouldn't work. Himari, thinking Akane was just being protective, invited her to study together. The top 2 students in the school would help Himari move up to 3rd place. Surprised, Akane agreed, and the 4 of them decided to study at Akane's house because it was bigger. When they arrived at Akane's house, Saito asked Himari what she didn't understand, and Himari admitted she didn't understand certain parts of the lessons. This left the 3 of them speechless. Akane recalled that Himari's grades had been slipping since grade 9, so they decided to start tutoring from the basics, specifically from grade 9 math. After some effort, Himari managed to solve the problems, praising Saito for being better than their teachers, which made Akane jealous. Himari, too excited, hugged Saito, almost making Akane explode with jealousy. They decided to take a break, and Saito agreed to play a game of flipping cards, where the person who flips more pairs wins. Saito dominated, as usual, with his extraordinary memory, leaving the other 2 in the dust. In the afternoon, Saito went out to buy some snacks, and Akane followed him, claiming she was worried he'd run off. Akane admired Saito's memory but also found it a bit scary. Everyone in the Hojo family had a special talent, and Saito's was his perfect memory. C's talent was mental arithmetic. Saito could remember others' information so well that it made people think he was stalking them. Akane was envious of Saito's ability because if she had a perfect memory, studying would be easier, and she could impress others. While the newlywed couple went out to buy food, the 2 at home started playing Saito's zombie shooting game. Himari didn't remember that Akane liked horror games, so she lied, claiming it was her father's game. While they were drinking tea, Himari continued relentlessly teasing Saito, and Akane just watched her best friend flirt with her husband in frustration. Himari accidentally knocked over a coffee cup, and Saito quickly ran to get a napkin. This made Akane wonder how Saito knew where Akane kept her things. Saito explained it was just because he had seen it before, and Himari believed him. While Himari went to the bathroom, Akane blamed Saito for wanting Himari, accusing him of deliberately spilling the coffee. Saito was so annoyed that he didn't bother to respond. Just then, the lights went out in the house, and Akane, frightened, immediately hugged Saito. She asked him if he preferred the kind of girl like Himari. Saito didn't understand what Akane meant, but to him, Akane was perfect just the way she was. He had to be careful, though, as he knew she had a temper, so he avoided saying too much. He thought Akane was the most troublesome person in the world, but he didn't hate it. When the power came back, Himari came out and saw the 2 of them embracing, causing Akane to scramble for an explanation. The next day, Saito suspected that C had deliberately cut the power, but she denied it. Just then, Himari came to ask the couple for help, as she still didn't understand some parts. Akane also asked Saito to help her with some studying at home, making both of them blush in embarrassment. That night, Saito helped Akane with her studies, and she had to admit that his methods were quite effective. Despite it being late, Akane insisted Saito keep helping her, wanting to make sure she was ready to become a doctor. But Saito still wanted to know why she wanted to become a doctor. Akane explained that her younger sister had always been sick and bedridden, and her parents worked tirelessly to pay for her medical bills. She hated the feeling of helplessness when her sister asked her to save her. Saito now understood why Akane wanted to become a doctor so badly. Akane wanted to do whatever she could to stop others from crying, especially since her sister had passed away. Saito mistakenly thought her sister had died, but Akane didn't correct him. Akane also didn't care much for idol shows, likely due to her sister's situation. Recently, Akane had been feeling down, so Saito sought advice from C. He had inadvertently brought up Akane's sister, which made him feel responsible. C suggested that Saito take Akane out on a date, maybe to a cat cafe, to help her bring out her feminine side. Since Saito had no experience, C offered to practice by going out with him. When they got home, Saito invited Akane out on a day off, which surprised her. They could go see a movie and visit a cat cafe. Just thinking about it made Akane excited. even though it felt like she was going on a date for the first time. That night, Akane spoke with her grandmother to see if it was really a date. And hearing her grandmother's emotional response brought tears to her eyes. Akane was ready to make the most of it. The next morning, Akane wore a new outfit, making Saito stop in his tracks. Before leaving, Akane insisted that since they were already married, it wasn't technically a date. Saito planned to take Akane to the cat cafe, but she refused, saying she was too obsessed with the animals. They ended up going to a karaoke room instead, making Akane think Saito was trying to do something inappropriate. Even though they lived together, Akane was still uncertain about his intentions. As they sang, Saito bought them some fruit juice, and Akane wanted to share the drink with him but was worried it might feel like a kiss. Eventually, she handed him the drink. Feeling a little confused, Akane couldn't understand why Saito invited her out, especially since he was usually so practical. Saito explained that he wanted to cheer her up because he had reminded her of her late sister. This made Akane happy, and she decided to follow Saito wherever he went. What Akane didn't expect was that Saito would take her to a health supplement store. And he drank so much that it was like he didn't need water anymore. On the way home, Akane noticed a ring and wondered if it was unnecessary to wear it, thinking high school students didn't need such things. But after the date, Akane thanked Saito, saying she was really happy. She was surprised at how different she looked when she was angry compared to when she smiled. Akane had put a lot of effort into making the omelette, but her husband was eating while watching TV, which annoyed her greatly. When he finally complimented her, she thought he was just joking, so she stormed off. Today, Saito decided to visit C's house, and Akane called a private driver to pick him up quickly so they could get to her house as fast as possible. The maid sped like a ghost, which scared Saito half to death. Once they got to C's house, C boldly changed her clothes in front of Saito, which made him uncomfortable. Thankfully, she was wearing a t-shirt underneath. After changing into a fancy dress, C invited Saito to play a game of pretend death. When he refused, she turned into a vampire and lunged at him to bite him. Just then, C's mother came home and saw her daughter monopolizing Saito, so she rushed in to kiss him. C's mother invited Saito to stay for dinner, but he refused because Akane had already prepared dinner at home. While they were talking, Saito asked C if she knew of any part-time jobs because he needed money. C suggested he ask her grandfather for some, but Saito didn't want to owe him anything. When C found out Saito was trying to make money to buy Akane a gift, she felt deeply hurt, thinking that her brother was visiting to earn money for a girl. This made Saito feel guilty, so he explained that the main reason he came was to spend time with her. C's mother reminded Saito that he was the heir to the Hojo Corporation. Yet he had to marry someone so ordinary. She outright opposed the marriage, but there was nothing she could do. Saito's mother was having some issues with translating, so she asked Saito to learn the language in 3 days. However, Saito, confident in his extraordinary memory, claimed he could learn it in 1 night. That evening, it was the first time Akane saw her husband studying. He could read something once and remember everything, which made Akane wonder why he was learning a new language. But Saito didn't explain anything to her. The next day, after school, Saito went to C's house for work, which made Akane visibly jealous. While working, C knew that Saito was diligently working to earn money to buy Akane a gift, to provide her with a peaceful life. Since their marriage, Saito had spent little time with C, which made her feel sad. Saito decided to indulge his little sister's wish and agreed to sleep together like they used to. That evening, Saito returned late again, which made Akane suspicious, but he refused to explain. Akane could smell the scent of a woman on him the next day. Akane decided to talk to C's mother about it, which made C feel that Akane was starting to care about Saito. Akane kept denying it, but C felt Akane was very much like her when she was younger. Saito's grandfather had invited her out repeatedly, but she had always turned him down. So, C hoped Akane would face her true feelings. Akane had refused to go out with Himari recently, which made Himari upset. Akane, however, could still smell the woman's scent on Saito, and that night, When Saito came home late again, Akane thought he was doing something wrong. She was afraid that Himari might take advantage of Saito. The next morning, Akane thought she would call Saito, but she realized they didn't have each other's contact information. So, she decided to call C's house and found out that Saito was still there. She wanted to talk to Saito, but C's mother answered the phone. Akane asked if she could speak to her husband, but C's mother refused, explaining that Saito was busy working. She sympathized with Akane, knowing she had to marry Saito, but also admitted that she didn't think they were suited for each other and that their marriage was just on paper. This made Akane very confused, and C's mother advised her to face her emotions. After a few days of working hard, Saito finished his tasks and got paid. He didn't need C's mother to double-check his work, as she fully trusted him. However, Saito was surprised when he didn't tell Akane about his work. He then realized he had enough money to buy the ring Akane wanted and immediately went to purchase it. When Saito returned home, Akane scolded him for being affectionate with other women while ignoring her calls. This made Akane incredibly angry, and she accused him of not wanting to come home if he liked being with the women so much. At that moment, Saito pulled out the gift he had worked hard for, the ring he bought for Akane. She was shocked when she saw it and thanked him. Saito explained the whole story and apologized for coming home late, hoping they could reconcile. After receiving the gift, Akane could only say thank you to Saito, which made him blush. After explaining everything, the couple began to chat happily. Like newlyweds, Akane decided to prepare a fancy dinner for Saito as a thank you for the gift. She was so obsessed with the ring that she wore it to class, which made Saito want to scream in frustration. Just then, Himari came over to talk to the two of them, and Saito had to quickly pull Akane aside to avoid her seeing them together. However, Akane casually remarked that she didn't like the ring, claiming she had forgotten to take it off. This made Saito laugh because he thought Akane was just being modest, believing the ring was something she truly cherished. That evening, Akane accidentally discovered that the ring she had been carefully keeping had disappeared. She searched everywhere she had been, but couldn't find it, and even stayed out late looking for it. Akane considered buying a similar ring, but then realized that it was a symbol of the love Saito had for her. She decided she would find the original ring before Saito noticed it was missing. The next few days, Akane continued her search, and her unusual behavior was noticed by Saito. Seeing her so upset made him realize something was wrong. Akane almost cried because she couldn't find the ring. Himari, being perceptive, figured out that Akane had lost the ring, but promised not to tell Saito. Instead, she would help Akane find it. She knew that without the ring, the Hojo household would turn into a battlefield, and she hoped to help her brother lead a peaceful life. The two continued searching into the late hours but couldn't find the ring. Saito, noticing Akane's distress, hoped she would finally tell him what was going on, as he was good at handling situations. However, Akane couldn't bring herself to tell him. So, Saito followed Akane the next day and discovered that she was sitting alone under the rain. Upset about losing the ring, Saito, hoping Akane could forgive him, found the missing ring after recalling every detail of that day. He discovered that the ring had fallen into a drain, which made Akane emotional, and she hugged him tightly. She promised not to lose it again. As Saito put the ring back on her finger, he accidentally placed it on her left hand, which made Akane start to think deeply. In many cultures, wedding rings are worn on the left hand, and when Saito asked to fix it, Akane refused. By the end of the episode, Akane's younger sister, whom Saito had mistaken for being lost earlier, unexpectedly returned to Japan and declared she would steal her brother-in-law away from her sister. Saito was sitting reading a book when Akane's younger sister, Maho, suddenly ran up to start a conversation, making him remember someone from his past. Maho introduced herself and expressed her desire to be Saito's girlfriend, which left him utterly surprised. Maho seemed slightly hurt, as she realized that Saito knew very little about her, while she knew a lot about him. She even knew about Himari being rejected by Saito and guessed that the reason Saito turned her down was because he was living with Akane, which shocked him. Apart from C, no one at school knew that Saito was living with Akane. and he hoped Maho would explain how she knew this. But Maho refused to tell him. Knowing such a big secret, she told Saito that if he dared to refuse her, she would make trouble for him. This left Saito frozen, unable to respond. Just as Maho was about to kiss him, Akane's cousin, the strongest girl in history, showed up to rescue him. Upon seeing the cute girl, Maho immediately went up to her, teasing her. When school ended, Maho finally left, but not before Saito could sense the danger coming from Maho. He warned Saito to be cautious. That day, Saito had some free time to himself, but Maho rushed to find him, and her friends became jealous. Maho continued to flirt with Saito, even going as far as sliding down the stairs to create a rom-com moment. Maho knew this was dangerous, but she was willing to take the risk, knowing Saito would save her. Life was short, so she did what she liked, like confessing her feelings to him. However, Saito had never liked anyone before, and despite living with Akane, he told Maho that both of them were brought together by fate. Maho was certain that Saito would soon fall for her like a drug. She looped her arm around his and dragged him out to play. Maho confessed that she had been disliked by her classmates and wanted to buy something to win them over, but ended up eating their share of the food, which made Saito speechless. Maho loved fast food like hamburgers and instant noodles, but every time she ate noodles at home, her older sister scolded her. Saito also confessed that his wife often scolded him when he ate unhealthily, and he guessed that Maho had an older sister because of her little sister personality. When Maho noticed a bit of sauce on Saito's finger, she quickly licked it and then took a picture, causing Saito to freak out. When he asked why, Maho said it was for the memories. Afterward, Maho quickly disappeared. However, Saito was able to catch up with her because of her weak physique. He demanded that she delete the photo, but he wasn't angry, he just didn't want the photo to exist. Maho had heard about the constant arguments between Saito and Akane, and asked when he would divorce her. Saito immediately responded that he would never do such a thing. Later that day, Maho wanted to visit Saito's house, claiming that after a couple goes on a date, they usually return to the male's home. Saito, not wanting to refuse, just endured the situation, but when Akane opened the door, she saw Maho arm in arm with Saito. Saito was about to explain, but Akane interrupted, saying that Maho was her younger sister whom she had just met again. Maho ran to hug Akane, teasing her all over, and when Akane pushed her away, Maho started crying and acting like a child. A few episodes ago, Akane had been sad when talking about her younger sister, which made Saito think that she had passed away. But now, he learned that Maho was alive. Akane explained that she hadn't seen Maho for a long time because Maho had been abroad. Their grandmother had given her a lot of pocket money, so she had been traveling since grade 9 and just returned to Japan. Saito was taken aback when he heard this, and Akane revealed that Maho had come to investigate her marriage with Saito. This wasn't something their grandmother had asked for. Maho had decided to do it herself because she liked Saito from the beginning. Maho then checked Akane's bedroom and noticed 2 pillows, which made her furious. She questioned whether Akane had done anything intimate with Saito and accused him of taking away her sister's innocence. Akane reassured her that nothing had happened between them, not even a kiss or holding hands. Despite this, Maho insisted that they had probably fantasized about such things, so she decided to stay for a while to observe their every move. Maho took the opportunity to try and steal Saito from Akane. She warned Saito that if he laid a finger on Maho, he would regret it. After getting Akane's approval, Maho started teasing Saito, and he felt frustrated. To celebrate Maho's return, Akane decided to make dinner. She made porridge, which Saito didn't like, but Maho hated it even more because she had been forced to eat it whenever she was sick as a child. Akane decided to add some special seasoning to make it more palatable, but Maho still hated the taste. She had to remind herself that Akane's porridge was the best in the world. When Akane opened the fridge, she discovered that the food had been frozen. After defrosting it, Maho pretended to faint to get Saito to take care of her. But Saito saw through her plan. However, Maho still wanted to take care of Saito. Saito, though, preferred to be frozen rather than let Maho take care of him. When Maho called Saito brother, It hurt him because he only had Akane as his sister. Maho explained that her sister's husband was also like a brother to her, which made Saito feel uncomfortable. Maho then challenged Akane to see who was more deserving of being Saito's sister. She ran to hug Saito and flirted with him in various ways, making Akane jealous. In the end, Saito gave Maho a score of 0 because she was trying to flirt with her brother-in-law. Later, Maho pretended to fall and asked Saito to carry her, acting in a very cute manner. Saito, amused, gave her 100 points for being the perfect sister. Even though Maho lost the challenge, she admitted that Akane was very cute and said she would like to be carried by Saito again. Akane and Maho finally had a chance to talk, leaving the two men behind. Maho explained that she didn't call Akane when she first returned to Japan because she wanted to surprise her. But Akane was even more surprised when Maho suggested that she marry Saito instead. Both families wanted to arrange a marriage between them to make up for lost time in the past. So Maho would try to convince her grandmother to allow her to marry Saito, so Akane could live a free life. Akane, believing that Maho couldn't handle Saito, was skeptical, but Maho was confident that they would get along because they both liked instant noodles. Maho added that no matter how much Akane badmouthed Saito, she could tolerate it. The next day, Maho showed Akane the photo she had taken and made up a story about it, which made Akane incredibly jealous. However, Akane still didn't fully trust Maho because they had only just met. But Maho believed they were perfect for each other and would be a couple. Akane tried to find a reason to stop Maho, but she didn't listen. As Saito was taking a shower, Maho unexpectedly barged in to ask him to scrub his back. Saito was horrified, but Maho threatened that if he refused, she would accuse him of assaulting her. Saito believed Akane wouldn't fall for Maho's tricks, so he insisted that Akane would trust him over Maho. Maho approached Saito and tried to convince him to marry her instead of Akane, saying that both families wanted them to get married, but it didn't have to be Akane. Maho then began whispering sweet words to Saito, and he asked for some time to think about it. Maho thought she was a reflection of Saito's desires, while Akane did things that went against his wishes. Saito was so tired from dealing with Maho that he didn't respond to Akane's questions. When Akane asked him if he planned to leave her, Saito quickly stood up and asked if she would agree to divorce him. Not sure why he was asking in the first place. To welcome Maho back, the group decided to go on a trip together. Hamari, seeing Maho cling to Saito like that, was very curious about their relationship and directly asked. Both of them bluntly responded that they were rivals. So, the two girls began competing for Saito's attention. The only one not worried about Saito being taken was his cousin, who wasn't afraid of any girl taking him away. The group then went to explore a bank and ride down a waterfall, which got Hamari soaking wet. They also went on a roller coaster, which scared Akane so much she almost fainted but still tried to act fine. However, when they went on the Ferris wheel, Akane was so scared that she nearly broke down. This terrified little girl, who hated heights, wished she could destroy the game just to make the ride disappear. Despite her fear, Akane wanted to make Maho happy, so she had no choice but to go along. When Maho was a child, she spent all her time in bed because of illness, so now she loved busy places. Maho had endured a lot of hardships, so Akane wanted to be there for her as much as possible. Perhaps when they were still in Japan, Saito, after hearing Akane's story, held Akane's hand, but Akane thought he was about to do something inappropriate and panicked. Later, they visited a haunted house, and Akane, being afraid of ghosts, had to be reassured by her friends. Meanwhile, her husband was having fun with her younger sister inside the haunted house. Saito made fun of the ghosts there, saying their makeup was worse than the zombies in the games he played, which made the ghost cry. While the two siblings were enjoying themselves, Maho suddenly felt unwell, so Saito had to carry her outside. He intended to call Akane, but then he realized he had been tricked by Maho. This made Saito extremely angry, as he had been genuinely concerned for Maho, only to realize she was playing a prank on him. He was upset and decided to stay angry with her until she understood her mistake. However, he still cared for her and hoped she wouldn't do such things again. That night, When Saito got into bed, he found Maho hiding under the covers. She demanded that he not make a sound, or she would tell Akane about the story of their childhood. This brought back a memory for Saito. He recalled when he had just graduated from elementary school. His grandfather threw a party for him. During the party, he met a beautiful girl with long hair who resembled Maho. They talked for a long time, but he forgot to ask for her name. Maho leaned in close and revealed that she was the girl from his past, which shocked him. Later, Maho started undressing Saito, intending to have her way with him. She confessed that she loved him and wanted to make him happy. But Saito quickly figured out that Maho didn't really like him. He felt that her words were shallow and not as genuine as Akane's. Maho admitted that she didn't like Saito but was still willing to be with him that night. This angered Saito, and the noises they made attracted Akane's attention. However, Maho didn't let Saito explain and instead told Akane that she had claimed him. That night, Akane kicked both Saito and Maho out of the house. Saito intended to take Maho home, but she refused. She suggested that he stay at Sis' place, but he didn't want to bother her. So, he decided to check into a hotel, making Maho think he was doing something shady. After handing Maho the room key, Saito quickly rushed to his room, but she screamed loudly. Maho threatened to call the police, saying that Saito had brought her to the hotel without asking her parents. So, Saito reluctantly let her into the room, but Maho tried to take over the bed. He had to kick her out, causing Maho to break down in tears, as this was the first time Akane had truly gotten angry with her. Maho realized that she had messed up and might never talk to Akane again. She blamed Saito for being the reason she was kicked out. Maho demanded that he take responsibility for the situation and make it up to her. Despite being frustrated with her, Saito allowed Maho to stay, and she insisted that he hug her to sleep because she hadn't taken her medicine that day. She explained that she would usually feel fine after taking the medicine, but since she didn't, she was feeling weak. Akane had kicked her out, and Maho hadn't been able to take her medicine. That night, Saito had to call a taxi to take her to the hospital. And it was the first time Maho had been treated like a princess. After Maho was discharged, she went to meet Akane to apologize for trying to seduce Saito. She said it was her fault and that Saito wasn't to blame. She hoped Akane would forgive him, and if Maho's sister accepted her, she would not cause any more trouble. Saito was concerned about the relationship between the two sisters but didn't want to share the details with Akane. Maho admitted that she had been traveling because she didn't want Akane to worry about her. Maho had always been ill, and Akane had to take care of her, which meant she never had many friends. She didn't want to worry her sister anymore, so she hid the fact that she hadn't fully recovered. Saito realized that Maho's goal was to free Akane from the marriage that had been forced on her. And he understood that Maho wanted to see Akane live a happy life. Saito didn't want to let Akane lose her smile, as she looked so beautiful when she smiled. However, Akane overheard their conversation, which made her feel embarrassed. So she ran away. After Maho was discharged, she met Akane to apologize for trying to seduce Saito. She confessed that it was her fault and that Saito had done nothing wrong. Asking for Akane's forgiveness, Akane thought Maho would never let go of Saito. But Maho was determined to change that. Saito had been banned from going home for a while, so he asked if he could stay at Sis' place for a few days. Maho's mother agreed to send a car to pick him up. But before that, she insisted on waiting for him to go to court for their divorce papers. A few days later, Akane interrogated Saito about Maho's situation, but he had promised to keep Maho's secret. Akane wanted to know when Saito planned to return home, but due to her personality, she couldn't bring herself to ask. For the past few days, Saito had been taking care of Maho in the hospital, secretly feeding her fast food, which made her very happy. Akane would never do the same for Maho, as she disliked the idea of giving her unhealthy food. Saito never realized how much Maho loved traveling. Even with her fragile health, she explained that she feared being bedridden forever, so she wanted to do everything she dreamed of while she still could. She also wanted to keep Akane from worrying any longer, so she hid the fact that she wasn't fully recovered. From there, Saito began to understand that Maho's intentions in trying to seduce him were to free Akane from this forced marriage. Initially, Saito thought Maho hated him because he had stolen her sister. But now he realized Maho only wanted what was best for Akane. She didn't want her sister to live a life of misery, which is why Maho wanted to replace Akane. Akane, however, had found happiness in her marriage, and Saito knew that he didn't want Akane to lose her smile. After hearing all of this, Saito decided that he would take Akane to meet Maho, so she could rest and be happy. Saito, however, didn't know that Akane had overheard their conversation and was deeply moved by what Saito said. When they met again, Akane couldn't hide her embarrassment but had learned a lot about her sister and her marriage. Saito was sitting by himself feeling a bit down when Himari approached him for a chat. It turned out that it had been a while since his parents were home. But because both sides had some conflicts, he refused to go home. Himari shared that she had a similar situation, so she decided to stay with him. The next day, Himari was shocked to learn that Saito was living with Akane, and she accidentally let it slip, causing a stir among everyone. Akane quickly stood up to clarify, but the evidence gathered by others made it hard to deny. In an attempt to stop the gossip, Saito carried Himari away to another place, and Akane continued blaming him, even though she was the one who let it slip. The next day, Saito became the center of attention, with everyone at school hunting him down, which made him very tired. C encouraged him to stay optimistic, saying that he'd only have to endure it for about 200 more years. When they were heading out, they realized they were still being followed by 3 paparazzi. Saito planned to go to C's place to hide from the press. But if he didn't return home, his grandfather would find out that they weren't living together. So, he carried C on his back, running frantically to escape the paparazzi. They waited for the last bus at a secluded spot to get back home. But Saito missed the last bus, so he had to ask C to call a cab. However, there was no signal on the mountain. Just then, the maid unexpectedly drove up in a luxury car to pick up the boss. She knew where they were thanks to the GPS tracker on Cis' person. But she only took responsibility for rescuing C and left Saito to walk home. The next morning, the couple faced a bigger problem. There was no rice left in the house. And they couldn't go out to buy it because they feared the press might spread rumors. The reason their supplies ran out so quickly was because C had eaten so much. Just then, they heard a noise from upstairs, and Akane decided to destroy everything to protect herself. Saito tried to stop her, and they accidentally ended up in a rom-com situation, with the story all set up by Maho. Maho, along with Akane's best friend Himari, came over to apologize for the rumors they had unintentionally caused. Himari took responsibility and promised to do everything she could to help both of them squash the rumors. Saito also apologized for not telling her that he and Akane were living together. Himari wasn't very surprised, as it made sense once she thought about it, the way Saito knew the house and how their bento boxes were identical. Plus, Saito came from a wealthy background, so she assumed he and Akane had married to build ties. Saito then explained the entire situation, about how he had been forced to marry Akane. But Himari remained optimistic, believing she still had a chance with him. The group then held a meeting to discuss how to stop the rumors. C suggested gathering everyone together and brainwashing them, which scared Saito. Himari suggested that they just do the opposite of what people thought, if they pretended to be a couple. It might work. Saito tried out the fake girlfriend plan. But since he and Himari were already close, nobody paid attention to them. Then, they decided they had to kiss to make the classmates notice. However, Saito refused because he didn't like the idea of kissing her. And Maho also tried to be the fake girlfriend. But Saito turned her down because he didn't want to play along with her schemes. The only person left as a candidate for the fake girlfriend role was Himari. But Saito was hesitant to involve her because he didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable. That night, Akane came to warn Saito not to get too close to her best friend. And if he ever forgot the bonds they had, he would be in trouble. The next morning, Saito and Himari started their fake girlfriend plan, and Himari acted very affectionate with Saito. This made Akane feel anxious, as she realized she might be losing him to her friend. The class forgot about the rumors regarding Akane and Saito, as everyone was focused on the fake relationship. Himari, with Saito's agreement, confessed that they were dating, which caused a stir in the class. She explained that Akane and Saito living together was just a joke, and that they were the real couple now. The class applauded their relationship, and Akane could now keep her secret. Himari continued being affectionate with Saito, making Akane very jealous, but at the same time, she knew it helped keep the secret safe, though she felt that Himari was going overboard. After class, Himari was thrilled to spend time with Saito, but he felt guilty and promised to make it up to her. After spending the day, pretending to date Himari, Saito said he had a good time and needed to return home to eat the dinner his wife had prepared. Himari didn't want to let him go but invited him to a cafe instead. Saito reluctantly agreed to stay a little longer. When he left, Himari's tears began to fall, but then she smiled because Saito had turned around and stayed a little longer. Afterward, Saito went to Himari's apartment, where he saw his handsome photo on her desk, making her embarrassed. Since Saito wasn't bothered by it, Himari insisted on taking more photos of him, but he refused. Later, Saito checked out some books on Himari's shelf and found that she was interested in psychology. Himari explained that when she was in elementary school, she was bullied, and Akane had helped her. However, she couldn't always rely on Akane, so she started reading psychology books to understand people better. Saito didn't think Himari was unpleasant at all, and admitted that he had never had feelings for Akane, which made Himari very happy. However, Saito asked her not to lower her self-worth. Just like Saito, Himari's parents rarely came home, but they weren't like Saito's parents, who had never attended any school events. When Saito was about to leave, Himari stopped him and asked him to stay a bit longer because she was feeling lonely. After leaving, Saito was confronted by Akane, who questioned where he had been. When she learned he had been at Himari's place, she was very angry. To make matters worse, Himari had called Akane to vent, which made Akane feel awkward and want them to stop pretending to date. Himari was afraid that if Akane got mad, she would back out, but Akane denied it, so Himari decided to go after Saito wholeheartedly. Since Akane was acting like this, she reluctantly accepted the situation, even though it was painful. Saito asked for Akane's phone number for convenience, which made her think that he was flirting with her, even though they were already married. Afterward, they exchanged numbers for the first time, and it was the first time Akane had saved a guy's number in her phone. She didn't want her friends to see that she had Saito's number, so she decided to save it under a different name, Idiot. Naturally, Saito refused and wanted to be saved as the greatest genius in the world, or the king of all. But when Akane combined both names, Saito felt awkward. After exchanging contact details, Akane bombarded Saito with texts, even though they were in the same room, which caught him off guard. He had no idea what she was planning. Akane even ran into her room and called him, saying, "This is how girls act when they're in love." Maho continued to stick to Saito like usual, but now Saito managed to dodge her with ease. Despite Maho's usual energetic behavior, she didn't step up to protect her older brother, making Saito think that the two of them were colluding. Saito really wanted to know the identity of the girl he had met during his childhood, but Maho kept evading the question. Even if he knew her identity, Saito thought it wouldn't change anything. He just felt uncomfortable not knowing. At Saito's elementary school graduation party, he had invited only people he knew, thinking it could have been Maho or Akane. But the angelic smile in his memory didn't seem like Akane. Saito didn't care much about anything else and wanted Maho to tell him who the girl was, even if it meant hugging her. However, before anything could happen, Maho took the opportunity to ask Saito out on a date, saying that she wanted to be with someone as charming as him. After their date, Saito forgot to close the curtains before leaving the house, and Akane was furious, accusing him of being a playboy. The next day, Saito became a sensation, with everyone at school hunting him down, which exhausted him. C encouraged him to stay optimistic, saying he'd only need to endure it for another 200 years. When they left, Saito realized they were still being followed by 3 paparazzi, so he decided to run with C on his back to escape them. They missed the last bus, and when they reached a remote place to wait for the next one, Saito realized there was no signal, so C called C for help. Suddenly, C's maid showed up in a luxury car, knowing where they were thanks to the GPS tracker on C. However, the maid only agreed to help C and not Saito, forcing them to walk home. The next morning, the couple faced a new problem. There was no rice left at home, and they couldn't buy any because of the paparazzi. Akane decided to destroy everything to protect herself. Saito tried to stop her, and they ended up in a rom-com moment, with everything being set up by Maho. Maho, along with Akane's best friend Himari, came over to apologize for the rumors. Himari took responsibility and promised to do everything she could to help them quell the gossip. Saito apologized for not telling her that he and Akane were living together. Himari wasn't very surprised, as it made sense once she thought about it, the way Saito knew the house and how their bento boxes were identical. Plus, Saito came from a wealthy background, so she assumed he and Akane had married to build ties. Saito explained the entire situation to Himari, and though she remained optimistic, she believed she still had a chance with him. They then held a meeting to discuss how to stop the rumors. And C suggested gathering everyone together and brainwashing them. Himari proposed doing the opposite, if they pretended to be a couple. It would work. Saito tried out the fake girlfriend plan. But since he and Himari were already close, no one cared. They decided to kiss to get attention. But Saito refused because he didn't like the idea of kissing her. Maho also wanted to be the fake girlfriend, but Saito turned her down because he didn't want to go along with her schemes. The only viable candidate left for the fake girlfriend role was Himari. But Saito was hesitant to involve her because he didn't want to make her uncomfortable. That night, Akane came to warn Saito not to get too close to her best friend. And if he ever forgot the bonds they had, he would be in trouble. The next morning, Saito and Himari began their fake girlfriend plan. Himari acted very affectionate with Saito, making Akane feel anxious, as she realized she might be losing him to her friend. Despite their efforts, the class believed that they were a couple. Himari explained to everyone that Akane and Saito living together was just a joke, and they were the real couple. The class applauded them, and Akane was able to keep her secret. However, as Himari continued to be affectionate with Saito, Akane felt more jealous. Though she knew it was necessary to keep the secret safe, she couldn't help but feel that Himari was going too far. After class, Himari was thrilled to spend time with Saito, but he felt guilty and promised to make it up to her. They spent the day, pretending to date, and afterward, Saito said he had a good time. He needed to return home to eat the dinner his wife had prepared. But Himari invited him to a cafe. Saito reluctantly agreed to stay a little longer. When he left, Himari's tears began to fall. But then she smiled because Saito turned around and stayed a little longer. Afterward, Saito went to Himari's apartment, where he saw his handsome photo on her desk, which embarrassed her. Since Saito wasn't bothered by it, Himari insisted on taking more photos of him, but he refused. Later, Saito checked out some books on Himari's shelf and found that she was interested in psychology. Himari explained that when she was in elementary school, she was bullied, and Akane helped her. However, she couldn't always rely on Akane, so she started reading psychology books to understand people better. Saito didn't think Himari was unpleasant at all and admitted that he had never had feelings for Akane, which made Himari very happy. However, Saito asked her not to lower her self-worth. Just like Saito, Himari's parents rarely came home. But they weren't like Saito's parents, who had never attended any school events. When Saito was about to leave, Himari stopped him and asked him to stay a bit longer because she was feeling lonely. After leaving, Saito was confronted by Akane, who questioned where he had been. When she learned he had been at Himari's place, she was very angry. To make matters worse, Himari had called Akane to vent, which made Akane feel awkward and want them to stop pretending to date. Himari was afraid that if Akane got mad, she would back out. But Akane denied it, so Himari decided to go after Saito wholeheartedly. Since Akane was acting like this, she reluctantly accepted the situation, even though it was painful. Saito woke up to see his wife, Akane, smiling at him brightly. The sight made him feel utterly panicked, especially when Akane compared watching him sleep to observing an animal in a zoo. Her comment irritated him to no end. Despite the tension, the two of them ended up watching a movie together. But Saito couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Akane was suddenly acting kind and gentle toward him, which confused him further. Why was she being so nice? He couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, Himari messaged Saito, which triggered a jealous outburst from Akane. She was furious when she discovered that Himari had been sending pictures to Saito on a regular basis. This made Saito feel the need to clarify things repeatedly, reassuring Akane that she didn't need to be worried. However, the situation only seemed to make things worse. Akane remembered the night before when Saito had asked her about their first meeting in high school. But she didn't recall greeting him with a casual, "long time no see," when they first met. Saito, with his superhuman memory, instantly recognized her mistake and pointed it out. Akane, embarrassed, quickly retreated to her room. Sulking, she was upset because Saito remembered their first meeting but didn't seem to recall the more important part of their story: their first encounter at Saito's elementary school graduation party. Akane had felt lost in a room full of adults, so she had stepped outside to the balcony for some air. It was there that she met Saito. He wasn't interested in the noise inside and preferred to talk to her about the stars in the sky. They had enjoyed a peaceful conversation, and Akane wished they could have spent more time together. But both of them knew they wouldn't meet again until much later, at the high school entrance exams. The next time Akane saw Saito was during high school. She greeted him, but he didn't remember her, which deeply hurt her. She had tears in her eyes as she realized that he had forgotten about her. Saito, thinking Akane might be sick, gently suggested she go to the hospital. But Akane wasn't sick, she was simply feeling lovesick. Saito, wanting to help, decided to make dinner for her. However, their house was out of rice, and they couldn't go out to buy any because of the paparazzi lurking outside. At the same time, Himari was being flirted with by 3 guys. Just in time, Saito stepped in, telling them to leave or face trouble. Himari, grateful for Saito's intervention, explained that she couldn't go home because she didn't want to meet her stepmother. She had been trying to keep herself busy to avoid seeing her. Himari thanked Saito for rescuing her and admitted that she was fine now. But she still needed a little more time. Saito, sensing she just wanted company, agreed to stay a little longer with her. This made Himari feel emotional, and as a way of thanking him, she kissed him on the cheek. The next day, Maho noticed something strange about Saito and guessed that he had kissed Akane. Saito quickly denied it, but Maho made a playful comment about him kissing someone else. While Saito was talking to the 2 younger girls, Himari suddenly appeared and asked for some private time with Saito. The others, thinking Himari was going to interrogate him, quickly agreed. Himari apologized for her actions the previous day, admitting it was inappropriate, but that she couldn't control herself. She was happy to learn that it had been her first kiss. And then, cheekily, she suggested doing it again. When Akane found out, she was shocked and ran out of the room. She then confronted Himari but only passed by her with a cold glance. Akane decided to tell Himari to stop, feeling that the two of them were acting like they were actually dating. Himari, however, refused to back down, claiming that Akane didn't have a valid reason to tell her to stop. Himari had been pursuing Saito since their first year of high school and now wanted Akane to admit her feelings for him. Akane, finally admitting she had liked Saito since middle school, realized that Himari's pursuit of Saito had actually helped her recognize her own feelings. After some back and forth, Akane accepted that she loved Saito. Both of them decided to compete for his affection. The following day, Saito entered the dining room, and Akane, startled, immediately told him not to enter her room. Saito, confused, thought there was something wrong with her. But it turned out that Akane was simply embarrassed. Later, Saito discussed his confusion with Maho and Hamari, and Maho joked that he couldn't even recognize her. Saito eventually realized that Akane, despite her tough exterior, really did love him, and that feeling was mutual. Saito tried to explain things to Akane, but she played it cool, saying she hated him. This marked the end of the first season of the anime, Marrying the Girl I Hate the Most, leaving viewers with many more twists and turns to follow in the future. How would it feel to marry your classmate when you both hate each other like cats and dogs? Saito is a rich, smart, and handsome young man who really dislikes girls who talk too much. Especially Akane. Akane, the female protagonist, is usually very quiet, but for some reason, she picks fights with Saito every day. His presence is like a pest to her, and she just wants to hit him with a slipper. Akane is always irritated by every action Saito takes. Even something as simple as writing in a notebook that no one even reads. Hamari, Akane's best friend, feels sorry for Saito because he's always fighting with Akane. Whenever they argue, only Saito's cousin, Sati, is the one to comfort him. Sati is extremely cute, making everyone admire her. Seeing Akane fight with Saito all the time, Hamari guesses that Akane might secretly like him. Akane insists that even if he were the last guy on Earth, she wouldn't care. After school, Saito is invited by his wealthy grandfather to hang out, but he turns it down because he has to register for his anime tribe channel. His grandfather plans to pass on the family business to him, so he advises Saito to try and win his favor. However, Saito has heard this advice from his grandfather many times. Despite this, he is forcibly dragged into a car by the bodyguards to meet his grandfather. Hojo Tenryu, who had saved the Hojo Corporation during difficult times and made it powerful. Saito is curious about where his grandfather is taking him, but the bodyguards stay silent, increasing the suspense. When they arrive at the meeting point, Saito runs into Akane, the one he dislikes most at school. She is also invited to dinner by her grandmother and, upon seeing Saito, loses all interest. Every time they're near each other, they argue non-stop. At that moment, Saito's grandfather and Akane's grandmother arrive, surprising both of them. They don't understand why their grandparents are together. Afterward, both pairs of grandparents and the two grandchildren go inside to have sushi.